Napoleon had already conquered most of Europe. Many people believed he was impossible to defeat. But then he made one decision that changed history forever. He decided to invade Russia. In 1812, more than 600,000 soldiers marched toward Russia. It was the largest army Europe had ever seen. Napoleon expected a quick victory. He believed Russia would surrender after just a few battles. But something unexpected happened. The Russian army refused to fight. Instead, the Russians kept retreating. Every village Napoleon reached was completely empty. The Russians burned their own towns and supplies. They wanted Napoleon to find nothing useful. Soon, food became harder and harder to find. The army was getting hungry. Still, Napoleon refused to stop. He believed victory was only a few days away. After months of marching, Napoleon finally reached Moscow, but what he found would change everything. Instead of a victory, Napoleon found Moscow burning. There was almost nothing left for his army. The city was nearly deserted. There was no food, no shelter, and almost no people. Napoleon waited for the Russian emperor to surrender, but the letter he expected never came. Days turned into weeks. Every moment he waited made the situation worse. Then winter arrived. Temperatures began dropping faster than anyone expected. Food supplies were almost gone. Hunger spread through the army. Thousands of horses died from cold and starvation. Without them, moving supplies became nearly impossible. The freezing weather slowed everyone down. Every step became a painful struggle. Finally, Napoleon made the hardest decision. It was time to retreat. But going home would be even more dangerous than marching into Russia. The real disaster was only beginning. The retreat began in terrible conditions. Snow covered the roads and slowed the army. Supply wagons kept breaking down. The army could no longer carry enough food. Many soldiers had almost nothing to eat. Even a small piece of bread became precious. The cold became unbearable. Men froze during the march. Russian cavalry began attacking from behind. The retreating army was constantly under pressure. Fear spread through the army. Units became separated and confusion grew. Each night became harder. Even keeping a fire burning was difficult. Soon the army reached the Berezina River. Another dangerous obstacle stood in their way. Engineers rushed to build bridges before Russian forces arrived. Time was running out. The army began crossing the river. Napoleon hoped they could escape before the Russians closed in. Thousands of soldiers managed to cross the river, but many others were left behind. The bridges were destroyed to stop the Russian army. It saved some soldiers, but many could not escape. The Grand Army was disappearing. Every day, fewer soldiers remained. The numbers were unbelievable. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers were gone. For the first time, Napoleon faced the consequences of his greatest mistake. Across Europe, other nations saw something important. Napoleon could actually be defeated. His enemies began forming new alliances. They knew this was their chance. Napoleon kept fighting, but the powerful army he once commanded was gone. Only a few years later, Napoleon lost his empire. His reign had come to an end. The invasion of Russia changed history forever. One decision had destroyed the greatest empire of its time. After the invasion, France was no longer the unstoppable power it once had. Everything had changed. It's hard to know exactly what Napoleon was thinking, but history remembers this campaign as his greatest mistake. The same man who marched into Russia full of confidence left with only a fraction of his army. Winter wasn't the only enemy. Hunger, long supply lines, and Russia's strategy all played a major role. Historians agree that several mistakes combined to create the disaster, not just the cold. The campaign reminds us that even the greatest leaders can make costly mistakes. Real strength isn't just about winning battles, it's also about making wise decisions. History gives us lessons we can still learn from today, if we're willing to pay attention. If you enjoyed this story, leave a like and subscribe for more fascinating moments from history. Thanks for watching. Remember, history isn't just about the past, it's about the lessons that shape our future.